everyone. My name is Lauren Hierl. I'm the Executive Director of Vermont Conservation Voters, and I'm here today at the Vermont State House.
Hi, I'm Paul Burns. I'm the Executive Director of VPIRG. We wanted to give you an update on a few of our top priority items that deal with the environment and human health. And it's particularly important this week because this is the week that action needs to happen in the legislature in order for these bills to stay alive and have some chance of passing this year. So what we're telling you about are things that we hope you'll get involved in right away.
Great. So 3 big bills we want to highlight. One is legislation that will ban toxic PFAS chemicals from firefighting foam, carpets and rugs, food packaging, and give us a better idea of where those chemicals are being used in our children's products. There's also a bill S227 that's going to build on the work we've done around single-use plastics and start to reduce further our reliance on single-use plastics. And finally, there's a bill to hold toxic polluters responsible when they impact and contaminate a Vermonter. That's Bill S37.
So when you hear about these bills, we want you to know that there's a way for you to get involved. And we're going to post some information below where you can see more information about the legislation and the easiest way for you to contact your legislators to make a difference.
Great. So now we want to tell you a little bit more about what all of these bills do and why we think you should get involved. So first, PFAS legislation. This is a bill S295, and this is really coming out of the contamination of Vermonters' drinking waters with PFAS chemicals that we've discovered. These chemicals, the Teflon, Forever chemicals, you've probably been hearing about, that are linked to cancers and other problems with human health. And so we're looking to reduce the amount of these toxic PFAS chemicals that we're bringing into the state in products that we all buy, carpets and rugs, the firefighting foam that's at fire stations all over the state, and food packaging in particular, where we know there's a big potential for exposure. So they come in, we can be exposed to them when we use those products in our homes, when we're eating, and then we throw them away, and then they can contaminate our water from there. So problematic all around. We want to turn off the tap of more PFAS chemicals coming into the state, and that's why restricting them from use in these key products is a really good step forward. I got plastics?
Yeah, you bet. Another bill that many people are familiar with, or problem, I guess, that many people are familiar with, is the challenge of single-use plastics. We're kind of drowning in single-use plastics. In fact, of all the plastics ever made, more than half have been created in the last 15 years. That means that there's more and more plastics being created each year, and about half of all that plastic is going to single-use packaging. It's used once for a few minutes, and then it stays around in the environment for 500, 1,000 years, or even more. And so last year, the Vermont legislature took action on single-use plastics, addressing the problem of carry-out bags and straws and stirrers and expanded polystyrene. That was a great first step, but there's so much more to do. And that's why we're supporting a bill this year, S227, that we think will be a vehicle for more expansive action on the problem of plastics. It will ban additional unnecessary and throwaway plastics like those tiny shampoo bottles and conditioners that you see in hotels. And it also, we believe, should have a piece to modernize our bottle bill, because for the plastics that you can't get rid of entirely, we should be doing more to recycle those. And if you expand the bottle bill, which was originally passed in 1972 when we didn't have things like single-use water containers or use sports drinks and the like, if you expanded it as it should be broadened today, that would bring in more than 200 million more containers into the system to be recycled properly. We think it should also have a recycled content standard so that beverage manufacturers have to keep increasing the amount of recycled content in those packaging materials. And it should have a big goal that says the state should be reducing its overall packaging waste by 75% over the next 10 years. Those are all things that we think should be in that legislation, S227. That also needs to move this week out of the state Senate.
Great. And the last bill we're going to tell you a little bit more about is a bill, a medical monitoring bill. And so this bill really aims to say when a Vermonter is impacted by toxic contamination, often it could come from, say, a nearby factory, then if you have elevated levels of a toxic chemical in your body and your doctor is now telling you that you need to go get extra screening to find out, if you're getting any diseases, you want to catch those as early as possible. So that medical screening, the question comes down to who should pay for that increased medical care that you now need. Is it you, the victim, or is it the toxic polluter who caused that contamination? And we believe it should be that toxic polluter. So legislation passed last year, a bill, again, S37, that by the legislature, but unfortunately, after intense lobbying from corporate lobbyists, that bill was vetoed by Governor Scott. We now have the opportunity in the legislature to override that veto, so we're going to be working hard to try to secure the votes to do that. You need 2/3 vote, so it's a high bar, but we'll be working hard, and your voice to help call on your senators and your representatives to overturn that veto and help Vermont victims of toxic pollution would be a huge help in helping us get that over the finish line.
So those are 3 priorities that we have a chance to move this very week, and if we want to see action on them becoming law this year, now's the time to get involved. So look below and join or check out our websites for more information, and keep in touch.